Hello, everybody. I just want to remind everybody before you watch this show that I am doing this for free. I am providing you a service free of charge. I am making no money on my videos because I am a common sense conservative who is obviously shadow banned, kicked off of social media, demonetized, etc., etc., etc. And I am doing this for nothing besides trying to inform the public and so on. So by providing this service for free, if you would be so inclined to donate, you can find all of my donation links in the description of this video: PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, whatever. And on with the show. All right, guys, welcome to Civics 101 with the Common Sense Conservative, where we will be covering communism, fascism, conservatism. Yeah, we'll just go with those. We'll go with those three, maybe throw in a couple others here and there. But those are the main ones, right? Because those are the main ones that we're going to be talking about, probably for the foreseeable future in this country and other countries as well, especially considering the fact that fascism is only called a right-wing ideology in Wikipedia, as you will see later on. But first, before we begin, I want to show you guys a little conversation that I had with somebody a few years ago who was a Antifa recruiter. And he had some very interesting things to say. And it'll segue into some of the other stuff that we're going to be chit-chatting about. So, without further ado, check this dude out. It's one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with anybody.
Though
Correct.
Anti-immigration policies,
all of which has
racial
nothing to do with
hierarchy
race. No,
policy,
incorrect. That's where you got it wrong. The first two you were spot
militant
on.
supremacy,
Prove it. Citation needed.
patriarchy. They support all these things that are fascist ideals.
What about suppressing other people's speech? Is that a fascist ideal?
Yes, suppressing other people's speech is a fascist ideal. But you know what? The fascists aren't going to suppress your speech right now. They're going to suppress your speech when they come to power.
Wait, so suppressing other people's free speech is a fascist thing.
Yes.
What about promoting violence against people who disagree with you? Is that a fascist ideology
That's
as well?
also a fascist ideology,
So,
but
with
that's
those
not
two things
specifically
said, hold on,
fascist.
wait, with those two things said, with the anti-fascist group, that's all you see: suppression of free speech and violence against those they disagree with, who is just exactly like the brown shirts of Nazi Germany. So explain to me how the Antifa, which stands for anti-fascism, is not a fascist group. Why aren't they on your list?
They're not on my list, and they're not a fascist group because they're a leftist group. And
So
now,
because they're a leftist group, they get a free pass?
well, leftist groups can't be fascist. Fascism is a far-right ideology.
Because the dictionary says that, right?
Well, yes,
Actually, it does not say that. Check this out. So according to Wikipedia, fascism is a political ideology, and it is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by the dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, etc., etc., etc. And but let's see what Merriam-Webster has to say. They've been around since 1828. They should know some things. Definition of fascism: a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that as the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Antifa. Let's see dictionary.com. Let's see what they have to say, huh? Fascism, a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism. Weird. It sounds similar. They're running industry and commerce and so on. Let's see what the Cambridge Dictionary has to say. A political system based on a very powerful leader, state control, being extremely proud of country and race, in which political opposition is not allowed. So we have three dictionaries. We have one of the oldest dictionaries that there are. We have the Internet Dictionary, and we have the Cambridge Dictionary. Yeah, so which one do you believe there, huh, guys? Do you believe the Wikipedia thing? Just so you know, the Wikipedia thing's only been around for, a year, 2 years, maybe. That definition is a new definition, one that has never existed, as you can see from the three other dictionaries out there. So what we can totally conclude here is that fascism is not a right-wing ideology, especially considering the fact that it was founded by Mussolini, who was a socialist, and followed up with by Hitler, who was a socialist. Yeah, I don't know. Crazy how these socialists decided to go super far right-wing with their dictatorships, and fascism, where they were dictators, totalitarian dictators. Crazy how that works out. But since we're talking about definitions, let's just go ahead real quick and cover communism while we're at it. And we'll start with communism for the, Wikipedia there. Communism is a far-left philosophical, social, political, and economic ideology and movement whose goal it is the establishment of a communist society, namely a socio-economic order based on the idea of common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange, allocating products to everyone in the society. Well, doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound nice there, guys? It sounds like a really good idea. Very great, thought process there. Everybody's equal, so on and so forth. But let's see what the other dictionaries there have to say. Merriam-Webster. Pretty good dictionary there. Starts off the same thing. System which all goods are available to everybody who's needed there. Oh gosh, it eliminates private property. That part sucks. Based on revolutionary Marxian socialism, totalitarian system of government in which a single authoritarian party controls state-owned means of production. Gosh, it's weird. It sounds like fascism. Anyway, let's see what dictionary.com has to say. Theory of system, social organization based on the holding of all property in common, actual ownership being ascribed to the community as a whole or to the state. In other words, the state controls it all. System of social organization, which all economic and social activity is controlled by a totalitarian state dominated by a single and self-political party. Gosh, there it is again, totalitarian. Man, all right. Well, let's see what Cambridge has to say. They're pretty basic, right? Belief in a society without different social classes, okay, in which the methods of production are owned and controlled by all of its members and everyone works as much as they can and receives what they need, or a social political system based on this belief. So here's where the disconnect comes into play, guys. So communism's a beautiful idea. It really is. It is a beautiful idea. You think about it, you're like, man, everybody's equal and so on. Man, that's just great. Catches you right there in the feelers, doesn't it? Except for a couple things. One, the human condition. The human condition, because there's 50% of us out there, maybe more, that just don't want to be just another cog in the machine. We want to be a little something better. We want to be as good as we could possibly be. We want to see how far we can go. You know, that ladder, how high we can climb on that ladder. We want to, experience things and do things. But if everybody is equally poor and everybody's equally sucky, then guess what? You're not going to be that guy who's climbing the ladder and bettering himself, because you have to remain mediocre. Because guess what? In order for everybody to be equal, you have to be equally sucky or equally fantastic. And I will bet you billions upon billions of imaginary dollars that there's a lot of people out there that don't want to be super fantastic, who don't want to climb that ladder, who are really just good at living their mediocre life. I used to manage Walmarts, and I would have 30-year associates who would sit there and they were like, no, I'm totally cool being a cashier. No, I don't want to do anything else. I like being a cashier. I like being a checker. I like being a door greeter. I like staying in the back room. I don't ever want to be promoted. I've worked here for 30 years. I love my job. Okay, that's cool. I don't understand that. I worked at Walmart for 6 months before I was like, oh, you know what? No, I'm already a manager. I started as a seasonal part-time temporary cashier, and in 6 months I was a manager. And 6 months after that, I was a hire manager, and 6 months after that, I was an assistant store manager. And that's just how I was. Like every job I've ever had, I was like, well, this sucks. I want to get better. I want to get higher up. I want to do more. I want to have more responsibility. I want to have more power. People want power. In a communist society, you're not going to have that power. You can't have that power. Unless, of course, you're a legit communist society. Because guess what, y'all? They need people with power. They need people in a communist society to sit there and go, oh, Yeah, so we need somebody to go out and muck the sewers. Yeah, we need somebody to go down there with the shovel and just get covered in crap. Oh, you don't want to do that. Oh, well, you have to, because it needs to be done. And just because you don't want to do it, you got to do it. Okay? So you can draw straws, and everybody can have an equal chance at having a really crappy job, but you got to do it. You don't want to. Well, off to the gulag with you then, because that's what happens if you're not going to be a contributing member of society, because we told you to do it. You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm throwing at you here? With communism, you have to have a totalitarian form of government behind it. Everybody can be poured together eating the same moldy cheese and the same crappy white bread because you can't afford anything else, because you're not allowed to afford anything else because, well, communism, everybody's equal. Yeah. Fascist. It's fascist. It is a fascist form of government. It is a totalitarian form of government. Fun fact, fascism is a totalitarian government that controls everything and shuts down opposition with violence. That is fascism. Don't believe me that communists are fascists. Just listen to the Antifa recruiter.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Was communist Russia a fascist government?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, that's left.
But they weren't left. They weren't communist. After Stalin took control, they went far right.
So, says who?
Says, all the historians who wrote on, Stalin and Mao and all those motherfuckers.
So none of those guys are communists?
No.
Mao's not a communist. Kim Jong-un isn't a
pieces of
communist.
shit.
So they're pieces of shit. So just
So
because they turn into...
basically, right wing is anyone that you don't like.
Well,
And
no.
anyone who implements your attitudes and then takes it the wrong way suddenly become right wing.
They don't suddenly become right wing. They have to make moves to become right wing.
So Stalin was right wing.
Stalin-
according to you. How about Mao?
Mao was later right wing after his.
Oh, of course. Once it went sour, right?
Yeah, once
That's
it went
pretty
sour.
convenient, mate. That sounds like a pretty comfortable ideology to be behind.
It is pretty comfortable, you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So where's the...
Yeah, you most certainly can.
Where's the critical thinking with that at all? Just because somebody starts doing horrible things under the communist flag, under the left-wing banners,
Right.
and all of a sudden they're not left-wing anymore because they're doing horrible crap?
Well-
So do you equate Antifa with that as well?
Antifa? No, I do not equate them with doing horrible crap. They're not doing horrible crap.
Yep. Conversation continued for a little while. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. The dude became a fixture at a lot of these events, and he ended up becoming more violent and crazy and annoying, and yeah, he ended up not coming around anymore after a little while. I don't know why. Weird. But anyway, so his whole thought process, and the thought process of most of the people on the left, is as soon as you do something bad, you must be right wing. So right wing, since the dawn of time, right wing has always been limited government. Right wing, again, since the dawn of time, has been less government, more liberty, natural law, property, free market, freedom, government get out of my, life, so on and so forth. It was this way in Rome. It was this way in Greece. It was this way since there were ever governments. You had two types of thinking. You had limited government, and you had you're too stupid to take care of your own life, therefore the government needs to do it for you. Fascism. So again, let me just talk about this for a little bit, because so many people nowadays are like, you're just stuck in that left-right paradigm thing there, and it just, you just don't know what you're talking about, and you're just stupid because you're voting for a Republican or a Democrat, and don't you know they're all the same? Sure, the establishment people in office, yeah, they're no different from each other. Schumer and 90% of the Republicans that have been in there for 40 plus years, yes, they're all the same, whatever. However, there's still one side that's a little bit better than the others. Okay, I would vote for John McCain before I would vote for Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. I would vote for Mitch McConnell before I voted for Pelosi. I would hold my nose the whole time. I voted for John McCain over Obama. Yep. I even voted for Mitt Romney over Obama. I even voted for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. You bet I did. I wasn't a fan of Romney. I wasn't a fan of John McCain. I wasn't a fan of Trump. But no matter what, they had to have been better than the alternative, because even if they're center-right, they're still further to the right than these other people. Liz Cheney, though? No, not a chance. She can burn in hell. There's nothing I wouldn't vote for. I would write in Mickey Mouse before I voted for Liz Cheney. You bet. Same with Jamie Herrera Butler. Joe Kent all the way. If Joe Kent wasn't on the ballot, Vicky Kraft all the way. If Vicky Kraft wasn't on the ballot, then, I guess I'd vote for Heidi St. John. Not happily, but, whatever. She'd still be better than the Rhino. Getting off track here a little bit. But you see what I'm saying? Because the whole idea, the whole thought process that there's no difference between right and left, you're dumb. And I'm going to show you now some pretty pictures to show you, okay? Alrighty. So this first one I want to show you here is circular. They think that the political spectrum is circular. On the top of the circle, we have moderate. Off to the right, we go from conservative to reactionary to fascist to Nazi to anarchy. And then on the left, you go from liberal to radical to socialist to communist to anarchy. That is what you would call some circular logic. You betcha. Because how do you go from Nazi and communist to anarchy? You can't. You just can't. And they're trying to say that moderate is the best. Moderate means you just don't have any convictions whatsoever. And therefore, you are a good person. And anarchists are the evil, evil peeps. And then this other circular political spectrum, you have center on the bottom, anarchy on the top, you have left, right, and then you have right totalitarianism, fascism, and Nazism, and then left totalitarianism, and Leninism, and Maoism. And then anarchy is where you get after that. After you go full totalitarian, then you're anarchist. Yeah, bro. That makes no sense at all. None whatsoever. So let's go back to, the political spectrum is linear. Okay? A line. This is one of the more popular, and you will see it more often than not. You will have to the right, you have conservatism, then you have a monarchy, then you have a Nazi, and then you have fascism. That's how the right wing goes. And it ends with slavery. And then if you go left, you have liberalism, then socialism, then communism, and then anarchy. And apparently anarchy is the same as slavery. So, again, it kind of makes you wonder some things, like what are these people thinking when they're making this stuff up? Like they're literally, all they're trying to do is make up excuses. So how about a little bit of reality? Huh? We have moderate in the middle. There you go. Boom. Shakalaka. Then you have Republican, then you have Libertarian, then you have anarchist. To the left, you have Democrat, you have Socialist, and then you have Fascist and Communist. The bottom line here is the most important one. You have, going to the right, anarchism, individual freedom. Going to the left, you have totalitarianism and majority rule. That's democracy, right? Majority rule, democracy. So when you have mob rule, which is democracy, and you have totalitarianism, which is a dictatorship, then you don't have those individual freedoms. You don't have private property. You don't have any rights. You don't have human rights. If you go further to the right, where it's individual freedom, where it's natural law, where it's liberty for all individuals who can live their lives as they so choose, then eventually, if you go super far right, it'll end up being anarchy. There'll be no government whatsoever. Now, I don't agree that libertarians are to the right of maybe Republicans. And I don't necessarily like this graphic because it doesn't have conservatives in there. And conservatives are people who are, I think, right in between Republican and anarchist. reason being is conservatives believe in the founding fathers. The Declaration of Independence lays out our ideals, and the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. And it lays out exactly what the government is supposed to do. Like, this is your job, government. This is it. Right here. Right here. This is your job. Nothing more, nothing less. And then we have our amendments, which say government shall not. And then, that's what it is. That's how it should be. Everything else left to the states, which are supposed to be their own little countries, who the people of those states decide, what freedoms they want to give away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as long as they don't go against the Constitution. Huh. Weird. Liberty, freedom, so on. If you don't, let's say, for instance, you live in a horrible place like Washington, Oregon, or California, where you have the left controlling everything and the left makes all these stupid rules, and you don't like the way that it goes here, you're like, well, you know what? I want to live in a constitutional carry state. So then you move to Idaho, because guess what? You have the freedom and the liberty to move to Idaho. You might not be able to afford it, in which case you got to work some things out and get her done. But again, you have the freedom. You can go live in a cardboard box or in your vehicle in Idaho until you can make up enough money to get something, right? You can make something happen if you want it bad enough. That's the wonderful thing that is still, for now anyway, part of being an American. Now, a lot of people come at me and they go,
but, fascism is communism and communism is fascism, then how come they hate each other so much? Why do they hate each other so much?
The answer is pretty simple. They're in competition. They're in competition to who can be the most horrible totalitarian form of government there is. Communists hate fascists. Fascists hate communists because communists are like, well, this sucks, but fascism's got a couple things that might sound okay. And fascists look at communism and go, well, this sucks, but maybe communism might be a better way to go, because they're still of the same mindset that I can't take care of myself. I need government to do it for me and tell me what to do with my life and tell me how to live and tell me what's okay and not okay. Because the whole idea of personal liberty comes with personal responsibility scares the crap out of people. It scares the ever-loving crap out of so many people. Personal responsibility, you mean I'm going to be responsible for my own actions? I'm going to have to pay consequences for things that I do or don't do or think about doing or whatever? Oh gosh, that's horrifying. I'd rather just be a cog in the machine. Thanks for playing. That's really what it comes down to. Fascism and communism, they compete with each other for who can be the worst, because nobody wants to live in a society where personal responsibility matters. Just kidding. There's a whole bunch of us out there that really would love that society, who fought a revolutionary war so they could have that society, for God's sakes. People died for the freedom to live your life as you see fit with a limited government. Like I was saying, and like I've already displayed and shown you, there is no way that you can go far right and have a totalitarian society. It doesn't exist. It's not possible. There is no such thing as a far right totalitarian society. Islam is not a far right ideology. It's not a far right religion. Christianity is not a far right thing. Or is it? See, with Christianity, actual true Christianity, there's this little thing in there that goes, being a Christian means choice. It means freedom of choice. You choose whether or not to accept Christ as your personal savior. Now, people can get it twisted, and people can sit there and go, well, you know what? There's not enough people who are accepting Christ as their personal savior, so therefore we need to make them. Those are fascists. That's when you start going back left again. That's when you start going, ooh, no, freedom, limited government. Theocracies are a leftist idea. That's why Catholics are still 50-50 lefties, because Catholics for a very long time were, totalitarian dictators. The Pope ran a whole bunch of different countries. Yeah, sure, the countries had some kings and queens, but who was really in charge? The Pope. Yeah. And it's no secret why all of a sudden the Catholic Church and the Vatican are starting to go, you know what, LGBT cool. Yeah. Yeah, Jesus loves you. Don't worry about the judgment thing. Jesus loves you. Yep. And that's why I have a problem with a lot of evangelicals. I will always vote my morality. I will always vote, for my morals. Like, I will always vote against abortion because it's not a woman's body. It's not a woman's choice to murder somebody else. The whole idea of right wing is live your life as long as it doesn't affect me or mine. And if your life is affecting other people in a negative way, like killing them, then you're not really being liberty or free at that point in time. You're being a horrible, murderous human being. And therefore, abortion, which is the ending of a life, it's murder, not my body, my choice, not a freedom issue. If anything, it's a freedom issue for the little baby inside here that never got a chance to take its first breath. So if you want to talk freedom and liberty, bring it on, because that's where anarchy comes in, though. Yeah, if you want to go full-on anarchy where there's no laws, then go around and purge. It's purge all the time. That's anarchy at that point. But we're not about that life. That's why we're conservatives. That's why we like, the Founding Fathers and John Locke and Aristotle. And we like these philosophers that sat there and said natural law, but we still need man's law to keep that natural law going so that other people aren't running roughshod on other people, right? That's also why we like an armed society, because an armed society is a polite society, and consequences for your actions can happen really quick with an armed society. So, something to think about there. But like I was saying, I will always vote my morality, but I will never, ever cast a vote that will take away somebody else's freedom. I will not take away somebody else's liberty over my religious beliefs. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a fine line. That's why evangelicals will sit there and they will actually vote to make it so you can't buy porn, right? They will vote to put parental, restrictions on things so that, music can't have cuss words and blah, 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 blah. I won't do that because I believe in freedom. I believe in liberty. People need to make their choices. They need to be parents to make sure their kids don't grow up to be little hooligans and, addicted to porn and so on and so forth. Like, there's things that people need. Oh, God, there's that personal responsibility thing again. Weird. But that's where I think that a lot of people need to go. Now, next thing I want to talk about is nationalism. Guess what? Nationalism, not a fascist thing. Love of country is totally fine. There's nothing fascist about love of country. There is nothing fascist about going, I will fight and I will die and I will kill people to save my country. Nothing wrong with that. That's a good mentality to have because your country is where you live. And if you're not willing to fight for your home, well, you don't really deserve to have a home at that point in time. Like, really, you don't. It's like all the leftists who are like, hey, immigrants, come on in. You're not going to let them in your house, are you? Nope, nope, nope. You're not. Look at Washington, D.C. The mayor of D.C. going, oh, gosh, we've had over 200 buses of illegal immigrants coming into my city, and my homeless shelters are all overrun, and we have so many more homeless people on our streets now that just happen to be illegals, and maybe we should send the National Guard on down there to help them out. Oh, weird. All of a sudden, you're not letting him in your home anymore, even though you said Trump was a super bad racist and, let him in, but crazy. So yeah, loving your country, fighting for your country, good, not fascist. Being a racist, guess what? You cannot be a right-wing racist. How cool is that? How cool is that? You cannot be a right-wing racist. You cannot be a right-wing fascist because racism, well, you're not really thinking that other people have freedoms. You're not really thinking that other people have the same rights that you do. Now, you can hate people, I guess. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You have the freedom to hate people. But if you're hating an entire race of people instead of the individual who did you wrong or the individual who pissed you off, well, that's a real leftist thing, isn't it? The whole groupthink. A right-winger will sit there and go, gosh, that black dude, or that white dude, or that Latino dude, or that Polish dude, or that whatever dude, that guy's a jerk. That guy, I hate that guy. And he's not going to sit there and go, ooh, oh, that one dude pissed me off, so they all suck. Because, again, right-wingers believe in individualism. We believe in one person, me. Me, myself, and I. My family. My people. That's who I care about. I don't care about Joe Schmo across the street because he doesn't affect my life until he does, and then I'll start caring about him. Unlike the left, who is very collective, right? Very collectivism. They believe in that it takes a village to raise a child. No, bro, it takes a parent. 1 to 2 people to raise a child. Preferably the mother to raise a child and the father to guide the sons. It takes parents to raise a child. It doesn't take a school to raise a child. It takes parents to raise a child. It takes parents to make sure their children aren't pieces of trash. It takes parents to make sure that their children aren't little hoodlums. It takes parents to make sure they don't raise a bunch of little criminals. It takes a parent. And if you're not up to be a parent, guess what? There's millions of people out there who would love to be parents. Make the right choice for the kid. Yes, individualism. Individuals believe in individualism. Individuals believe in private property for individuals. They believe that each person should be judged by the content of his character and not the color of his skin. Man, Dr. Martin Luther King. People called him a communist. People called him all sorts of things. But that sentence right there is the most right-wing thing anybody could ever say. Dreams of a world where people can be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Nationalism, love of country, not a fascist thing. The racist part, a fascist thing. Fascism is bad. Totalitarianism is bad. Giving up freedoms and liberties for any reason is bad. Period. So I want to end this thing with one final message. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I've been getting into a lot of debates with these people who are so proud to be a fascist, who are so proud to be a racist, who are just, they're not hiding in the shadows anymore. These people who are saying things like, we need this to be an ethno-state. We need the United States to go back to the European blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem, guys. I am a nationalist, all right? I am a Oglala Sioux who, has a little bit of Irish and German in them as well, okay? I married a Mexican, okay? My daughter is a Oglala, Irish, German, Mexican. Where am I going to go if you're going to make America an ethno-state? And what ethno are you going to make it? Because the whole western side of the United States was Mexican for quite some time. The whole center of the United States was French. The whole northern bit was French. English was only like a little bit. Are we just going to go with white? Is that what it is? So then everybody else who was brown here before the white people, they don't matter anymore. I don't really know where that's going to go. And also, since you're a mutt as well, where are you going to go? See, like these conversations that I have, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm super right wing. I'm like, well, you're not right wing because you don't believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. So there it is. But what I've been noticing is that there's been a little bit of pushback, but then there's also been some turning a blind eye at these people. like, as soon as I see them, they all have the same rhetoric. They all say the exact same things. Like they're reading from a script, or they're just copying and pasting the same exact talking points. And for some reason, like, it's just like, boom, radar on it. Like I see them, I see what they're blabbing about to other people and debating other people, trying to like just kind of subtly push this stuff in there. And we need more people out there like me going, nope, wrong, bad, nope, not good, not good, sorry. There's too many people turning a blind eye going, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like in World War II, right? The communists were coming to help us with the fascists. First of all, we didn't need to make friends with the Russians. The Hitler invaded Russia. Russia was already fighting. We should have beat them to Berlin. We should have not sat there and said, oh, you can have East and blah, 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 blah. We should have made it very clear that we were anti-communist at the time. Very clear. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're the United States. We believe in this and that. But of course, you know, at first we had FDR, who was very, very pro-fascist. He thought Hitler and Mussolini were very fine gentlemen. And yeah, so again, we had our own problems because we had people who actually voted people in, communists and fascists, in to office, who have done many things to destroy this country. And the fact that there's not enough people who are standing up to these fascists and communists who want to continue to destroy this country and make it worse than it already is, instead of trying to bring back the ideals that made the United States great in the first place. The ideals laid out by our founding fathers bothers me. It bothers me on so many levels. People need to be educated. People need to understand that in order to be right-wing, you must be a freedom-loving individual and not just picking and choosing. You must be an absolutist. You must be a constitutional absolutist. The Constitution says X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You must be an absolutist. You must be a free speech absolutist. You must be somebody who will sit there and say, I believe in free speech, period. Free speech, the right to peaceably assemble. Doesn't matter if you're right, doesn't matter if you're left, doesn't matter if you're Lenin, it doesn't matter if you're Hitler, it doesn't matter if you're Billy Graham, it doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you peacefully assemble, if you're the Klan or if you're Antifa or Black Lives Matter, if you peacefully assemble, you have that right to peaceably assemble. Now, once it's not peaceful, then bam, done. You don't get to play anymore. You go to jail. But that goes under equal justice under the law. Another right-wing idea. Equal justice. The law applies to everybody across the board equally. Rich people don't get off for what poor people go to prison for. See what I'm saying? Alec Baldwin should be in prison. He shot and killed somebody. He should be in prison. He's not. He's not. He's not in jail. But he should be, with equal justice under the law. Period. A lot of people are freaking out right now on the left because Mac Lewis got 3 days in jail and 3 years probation for pushing an Antifa member out of his face. And they're like, oh man, if only we got that treated like that. Okay, leftists threw bombs at buildings and beat up police officers and lit buildings on fire and smashed windows, and they got nothing. They didn't even get they got nothing. Case dismissed. Have a good day. See you again tomorrow night. So, equal justice under the law, people. Doesn't matter. It's a right-wing thing. We believe in that. Again, that goes with that whole personal responsibility and individualism, right? So, again, guys, for the love of God, if you see these people, call them out. They're not your friends. They do not believe in what you believe. They are not your pals. They're not your buddy. Recently, I did a video from, what's his name? Johnny Benitez or whatever. I don't remember his name. Some dude, the guy that I did, talking about how he lost his concealed carry. Dude's a fascist. Yep, dude's a fascist. Dude is a racist. He's Colombian and he's a white nationalist, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I don't agree with him about anything. But I am a constitutional absolutist. The dude did not assault anybody. He did not commit any crimes that I know of that would warrant him losing his concealed weapon, his license. If he did, he would not have gotten it in the first place. But they took it away from him because he said things that those in charge, the fascists, don't agree with. So therefore, he lost his right to carry concealed, though it was previously given to him. That is wrong. That is bad. That is not good. That is not okay. That is fascism. That's fascism, people. You said something I don't like, therefore you lose your human rights. Nope. Sorry. Not a right-wing ideology.